Since the end of the 19th century, Canadian women have been organizing to redefine their place in society, demanding equality and justice. The women's movement has achieved a degree of formal equality for Canadian women through the legal and political means. Parallel to this slow conquest of equal rights, the lifestyle of Canadian women, as for women in most of the Western countries, has undergone profound changes. Goods and services traditionally produced in the home are now available for purchase by consumers, and these technological developments, together with the growth of the service sector, has facilitated the increase in participation of women in the labor market, so that by the 1980s, the majority of Canadian married women have paying jobs. Serious inequalities in the relative position of men and women in society remain. However, the federal government in 1969 set up a royal commission on the status of women to examine the situation, and in its 1970 report on the commissions made 167 recommendations for greater equality of women. One of the primary concerns of women's movement have been securing of appropriate rewards for work performed by women. In this context, work includes both paid and unpaid work and involves the realization that the two are inextricably linked. It was the women's movement that first emphasized that work done within the home is indeed work and should be regarded as such. The wages for housework movement have been instrumental in focusing attention of the issue. Now, let's say we see a little example to see how women were treated unfair back then. Before the 60s and 70s feminist movement, men were portrayed as dominant, who demanded respect and viewed women as property. Women were to follow housewife standards of providing a functioning household and family. Majority of women suffered with the inability to speak their mind. If women attempted to make contributions to business-related conversation, their husbands would often see it as a sign of disrespect. You see the sign of there? Oh, snap, sweet baby Jesus. Now you see, boys and girls, women did not have the right to own property back then, and once they were married, all property rights were surrendered to the husband. So furthermore, women were not accounted for in the will of their husbands. So that means any property or money acquired during the marriage was passed down to the male children. Now, if there was no eligible male child to receive the property, the money was passed down to any male family tie. This left the majority of widowed women poor and homeless. Now, you see, the government was of no help in cases like this because they never were before. Now, before 1929, when women were not even considered persons under the law, this was one of the main goals of the first wave feminism, along with women's suffrage. Oh, poor sweet soul, I'm so sorry. Now, you see, prosperity after World War II led to an increased pursuit of career-based jobs and higher education in women. This push led to an increased awareness of gender inequality. Now, combined with increase in education and awareness was the introduction of the birth control pill, leading to women taking control of their own bodies. The second wave of feminism brought forth a division in how to approach correcting inequality. One group of feminists, known as Main Street feminists, believed in obtaining change through the passing of legislation and the use of media. On the other hand, there was the radical group who believed in social reform and uprooting men from positions of power. Now, in the 1970s, the battered women's shelter movement fought against abusive husbands. As seen previously, women were regularly beat at home unrestrictedly. These shelters provided emotional and financial support to abused wives. 1 year after the abortion law was amended in 1969, the first feminist protest was held. The protest was known as the Abortion Caravan, where women marched 3,000 miles from Vancouver all the way over to Ottawa, gaining more and more supporters along the way. Now, once the protesters reached Ottawa, 35 of them chained themselves to the Parliamentary Gallery in the House of Commons, forcing Parliament to close for the first time in Canadian history. There was a point in my life when I couldn't drive, and my daddy was the one who had to take me to school. But thanks to the passing of Bill 610, women were now able to drive. So look at me, driving all fancy now. Oh yeah. You see, in Alberta, there was a famous case involving a farm wife named Irene Murdoch who claimed that she deserved half of the family's cattle ranch in their divorce. Now, for 25 long years, Irene had worked alongside her husband in their 480-acre farm in Turner Valley. Irene stated that she would do all the hay young stacking, all the sweeping, and running to town for repairs plus gas and oil. Now the Supreme Court ruled that it was her husband's farm, and for a lifetime of work, Irene was only given $200 a month, and then in a later ruling, Murdoch was given $65,000 as a settlement, but the monthly payments were canceled. This case, a catalyst for women demanding legal guarantees against gender inequality. Oh, poor Irene, look at her. She just got denied. That is so unfair. Time since its re-emergence, feminism has had a major impact on our society. Ultimately, creating social justice for women involves a profound reconstructing of society and of the way people think about and experience the world. By stressing that the personal is political, the women's movement has made the social inequality of women a public and not merely a private problem. This accomplishment is its single most important contribution. Now, with changing circumstances, new issues emerge that need to be addressed. In Canada in 1996, globalization, lack of jobs, slashing of social problems, deinstitutionalization and devolution of powers from federal government to provincial or local governments, the diminution of national provincial standards, and emotional deterioration are issues which are now of concern to the women's movements, as well as those issues which had been identified previously for others such as daycare. The scope has been defined, but implementation has still to be achieved.